I remember the call when you were at the hospital. I was reassuring you that you were going to be okay and that you would be well in no time. Little did I know that that would be the last time I heard your voice. Little did I know that the final moments I watched you leave our home to be taken to the hospital was the last time I would ever set eyes on you alive again. Little did I know that you are now only alive in the many recollections of the times we had spent together.
How would you describe your grief in one word?
In one word, I'd say draining, probably. It takes a toll on you, like every day kind of being reminded and stuff. So yeah, I'd say draining.
I'd say difficult.
Painful.
If you wanted to know what the surface level definition of grief is, it is the emotional response of losing something that is considered important to us that we built a strong affectionate connection with. It can range from family members, friends, pets, and more. But if you want to go below the depths and understand grief and its complexities, then grief is what I would describe as a heavy weight in your chest. It continuously weighs you down, draining you of your energy. Sometimes you'll feel fine and go on about your day. Other days you're so overwhelmed by your emotions and find yourself almost paralyzed in sadness. You just wish that the root of your weight would come back and restore you your peace. But unfortunately, that is nothing more than just wishful thinking. There is no timeline on grief. It will be with us for as long as we live. And there is no right way to grieve. It is more complicated than it has attempted to be simplified. Like the 5 steps: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Some people go through these 5 steps in different orders. Some people don't even feel some of these steps. And some people experience things outside of these 5 steps.
What are the physical and psychological effects that you've experienced of grief?
I can see that lack of appetite, psychological, not really psychological, but yeah, just physical lack of appetite. That led to that in my shape and everything.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had questions, that I needed to be answered, but no one to ask the questions. I can't ask God. I can't ask, and this is in regards to my dad, because I thought that perhaps he would, give me some kind of warning. But obviously nobody knows when they're going to die. So again, I couldn't blame him for that either. And also, so the pain, the physical pain, the physical pain in the heart, like your heart is going to burst when I remember the last time I spoke with him. That pain is just so real, and it's so real to the extent that I start to feel like some kind of something radiating. I don't know how to describe it, but it always ends up in me having a headache, because it is that strong. And psychologically, it's just that emptiness, that loneliness, that aloneness, knowing that you will never, I will never see him again, not on this earth anyway. Neither would I ever hear his words or his voice. And there was a voice recording that I heard, and I thought, by going over it over and over and over again, that will give me some kind of peace, but it doesn't. It makes it worse, really, because then it's. I just want to. When I hear the voice, I just want to be like see him, and I didn't. I mean, as an adult, I didn't think that I would I would feel, that much pain.
Yeah.
I thought, I was old enough to handle a loss, but I think there's no age barrier where loss of a loved one is concerned, really.
Yeah.
I would say definitely very depressive. I wouldn't call it depressive, but like depression in itself. But yeah, I do feel like I went into a state of depression where I was just tired all the time, stressed all the time. I didn't want to get out of bed. School was really difficult because obviously, you don't want to move, you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to socialise especially. So yeah, emotionally stressed and just sad and worried all the time. Physically tired, drained, miserable, yeah.
People who are grieving commonly experience some of the following psychological effects: fatigue, sleep disturbance, appetite changes, a weakened immune system from stress, body aches or headaches, digestive issues, and that's just some of the effects of grief. This is because grief increases inflammation in the body as it activates the body's fight or flight response, flooding the brain with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, making us more susceptible to illness. Some people may feel extreme effects of grief like broken heart syndrome, which causes sudden weakening of the heart due to extreme emotional stress that mimics the symptoms of a heart attack. Some of the psychological effects of grief include sadness and depression, increased levels of anxiety, guilt or regret, anger or irritability, confusion or difficulty concentrating, and more. Extreme emotions are felt going through grief as our brain is trying to make sense of what has occurred, which overwhelms it. Grief causes emotions like anger and sadness to flood the brain, which the brain then has a hard time regulating. Things like intrusive thoughts and what-if scenarios are your brain's way of trying to make sense of what is happening, whilst also trying to focus through day-to-day life, which leaves us mentally exhausted. Grief shatters core beliefs that we have had, like that we are safe and we have time, as well as the plans we have made. This can cause intense feelings of anxiety, depression, a sense of hopelessness, and a spiritual crisis in faith. Studies have shown that grief affects areas of the brain that are linked to emotion, memory, and reward. That includes the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. This is why grief can literally change the way we think for a while. Grief is a way that the mind tries to adapt to a painful situation, which is psychologically intense. My personal experience with grief has been very overwhelming as I deal with high levels of anxiety. These high feelings of anxiety stem from the fact that my dad died so unexpectedly, which completely changed my perception of life. My dad dying was the last thing that I believed would happen. Death was one of those things I would brush off, and I was naive to think that it would never happen in my family, but it did. I felt a lack of security and control and would be continuously worried about what could happen to me. Several panic attacks and extreme anxiety cases later, I realized that this was my response to grief. This was my body's way of trying to protect itself. To cope with these high levels of anxiety, I would incorporate daily habits into my life to help alleviate it.
There are many misconceptions around the 5 stages which we will be talking about today. One of these misconceptions include the fact that the 5 stages will be experienced in chronological order, which is just not true. The 5 stages can be experienced at different times in different orders. Some of the 5 stages may not even be experienced. Experiencing grief is like a roller coaster. There is nothing straight about it. Another misconception of grief is that we will be able to get over grief when we have reached acceptance, which is also not true. Grief is a lifelong experience which cannot just be gotten over. It is a very complex and intense feeling that makes it easy to manage over time. Some of the daily things I do to help this include reading. Reading calms me down and is useful to help distract me when I feel down and overwhelmed with grief. Journaling, which allows me to vent my feelings and express myself on paper, which makes me feel relieved and relaxed. And meditation, which allows me to practice breathwork and express gratitude for the present moment that I am blessed to experience.
How has grief impacted the way you perceive the world?
It makes you worry a lot more for your own health and the health of others. So my grandmother, she died from cancer, and it worries about, like, is it hereditary? You know, you worry about your own health and you worry about your family too, and it makes you like a lot more considerate of your family as well. You value them a lot more because you can take for granted your family, definitely. And when someone leaves your family, you realise, no, these are the people I care about, and you really just want to stay close to them. And yeah.
Personally, I don't think it has like impacted the life of the world any much. I just feel like it came eventually and then it was done.
Grief would put me in a bad place at times. I would think from time to time about my own life, and sometimes I would question my purpose. What was the point of me being here? What is the purpose of life if we would all die at the end of it? What was the point of having goals and achievements in life if it wouldn't matter when we were dead? This caused me to have depressive episodes from time to time where I would find it hard to do anything. I had low energy and didn't see the point of doing a lot of things. I would constantly compare myself to my family members because they always looked like they were dealing with their grief well. I wondered what was wrong with me, and maybe I'm not doing enough. And why is it that they are able to power through and I'm stuck here spiraling? When I thought I was finally seeing better days, my auntie died, and it felt like I was back at square one.
I feel the same cheese.
Oh my god.
I feel the same cheese.
Ngamthanda ngiqala ukumbona ulafa ngavele ngachazeka ngacela ukukunika uthando.
My auntie was like a second mother too, so when she also died unexpectedly, the lack of control I felt was a lot greater than before. I was trying so desperately to act like I was okay, so I didn't have to feel the pain that accompanied me, knowing that I would never see her again. I thought that if I just ignored the feelings, it would go away on its own. Little did I know that it would catch up to me in the form of high levels of anxiety and panic attacks. It was such a scary time for me because the emotions I felt were so intense, and I thought I was losing my mind. Months and months went past and high levels of anxiety followed. I thought that if I implemented these small tasks in my day-to-day life, that the anxiety that had constantly plagued me would finally subside and I would be happy again. I would set these unrealistic expectations for myself and convince myself that I was weak-minded because of how anxious I was. Comparison after comparison made me feel like there was something wrong with me. At this point, I felt like that I was never going to be able to escape the cycle of anxiety and grief. It was eating away at me, which put me in a dark place. My mind wandered to death, and passive suicidal ideations. It felt like it was the only way out. If death was the only way to silence these thoughts, if death was the only way to finally feel some type of peace, it scared me that my mind even wandered to places like this, but it felt like it was the answer to my problems.
Kodwa noma kunjalo sithando sami wena ungikhethile wahlala nami wahlala nami noma ungahamba uzobuya sithandwa sami
It's easy for your mind to go to a dark place when faced with stressful situations that you find hard to cope with. But after some self-introspection, prayer and thought, I realized that death is not and will never be the answer. The bad things that occurred in my life are nothing more than just temporary situations that will eventually pass with time. A bad day is an equivalent to a bad life. And although grief is a lifelong experience, time is truly a healer. As painful as it has to be to conform to this new norm of not having my loved one by my side through the journey of life, I do recognize that over time it will get easier to keep on going despite their absence. I didn't realize this overnight. This was a very long and tiring process which revealed this truth. I also know that I am blessed to have a network of family and friends who support me through the hard times and still cheer me on to keep me going. I know my dad wouldn't want me to give up. He would want me to do well for myself academically and in all other areas of my life. I know my auntie wouldn't want me to give up either. She'd want me to get back up, chase my dreams, and to stand strong no matter what. I remember the talk I had with her in the quarantine hotels when I experienced my first ever panic attack. She told me to live my life and not to worry about what could happen. She told me that tomorrow is not promised, and for all she knew she could die tomorrow, and that no one knows what the future may hold. I find comfort in these words, and as much as it hurts me that they are both not here to see the things that I will achieve in life, I find strength knowing that they will be proud of me for my best efforts. I remember catching my dad looking outside at the trees in our back garden whilst having a cup of water in his hand. Now when I look outside at that tree, it provokes memories of the times we would watch TV together. He would turn up to my sport events and always reminded me to strive to do well in school. My advice to those who are grieving is that you can never stop grieving. It will get easier over time if you make sure to take care of yourself and allow yourself to process your emotions from time to time. Don't give up, and no matter what, your late loved ones will be proud of your best efforts to keep on going. For the individuals who want to help someone who is grieving, always make sure to check up on them from time to time. Sometimes constantly bombarding people can be overwhelming. Finding ways to try and distract them for a little bit to help alleviate some of the grief that they are feeling.
What advice would you give to others who are grieving?
I would say, although it feels like, this is the worst thing in the world and you're not even sure how you're going to cope, time does heal. And so, I'm not saying you get over it, but you learn your ways to cope or whatever works best for you. Definitely talking to people, it does help. When you're at a stage where, it's not so such an open wound and you can talk to people, I think that's the best thing to do. And also remembering happy thoughts as well, happy memories, talking about people about happy memories, not just how they passed or things like that, things you really loved about them, things that you really enjoyed with them. I think that really helps you to, slowly move on, and yeah, that's what I found.
You find your own method, you understand? So even talking to someone, like a therapist or something, so you've got writing about it, so you just find your own coping mechanism, it should be good.
Was it easy for you to seek help and to talk to others about your grief?
I think it was challenging because, it depends how you take grief, but for me, I just wanted to push it down, set it aside and not think about it. So when people would ask me questions or even talking, when guests come to the house after someone's passed away, that was hard because it was brought up all the time. And so when I was around friends, then I just want to have fun and not think about it. So then I wouldn't talk to them. When you're with your parents who are also grieving, it's really hard as well because they're also upset, so it's really hard to talk to them. I'd say at school, they helped with counselling and stuff, but even so, you have so many stresses, grief and everything else. It's what do you even talk about because there's so much going on when you're so young. It was a challenge, but I think I did try to talk to my parents and stuff, and hopefully that helped.
I never wanted to or had to. I just felt a couple of weeks, months, I'll be done with it, and then